I moved from Kenya to America thinking that I was street smart and I was prepared. And America said, sit down, let me teach you. Kumbe I was not emotionally, spiritually, or even financially ready. So hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Nancy Ogutu, and if you're new here, karibu sana. And in today's video, I'll be sharing some of the biggest culture shocks I experienced as a Kenyan living in the USA. So if you're African, you're Kenyan, or you're thinking of relocating to the United States, I know this video will make you feel seen. Or if you just relocated to the US, I know you'll deeply relate to this video. So now that you're here, let's get into it. So before we get started, I've noticed that most of you guys actually watch my videos, and I really appreciate that, but most of you don't get to subscribe. And I have a few videos that have over 1k views, and I was thinking if these 1k viewers actually subscribe to the channel, right now we could be almost to 1k subscribers. And I'm giving you guys a challenge. If you get to watch this video and you actually like it, please click the subscribe button and help me grow this channel. And I'm betting on you guys, and I hope that in the next few months we'll be up to 1k subscribers. Also, which are some of the topics you guys could love me to introduce, and some of the topics you'd love me to talk about? I feel like I've been stuck on my K1 visa journey, and also I've been talking about America this, America that, and I was thinking of introducing a few more other topics that you guys could relate. And few of you give me feedback, which I really appreciate. Someone told me that I should work on my grammar and pronunciation, and someone else told me that I should work on my personality. I feel like I have a natural resting face. I have a naturally resting face, and I'm really working on that. I'm trying to introduce more personality. I'm trying to be comfortable on the camera. I feel like I was not able to show my personality in the beginning because I was creating educational content around K1 visa process, and I think I was trying to be more official, so I was not able to introduce my personality in the first few videos. But also now I'm trying to be comfortable in front of the camera. I'm trying to be more expressive. I'm trying to introduce a little bit of personality, and I'm also working on my grammar, my pronunciation, my fluency. But over the years, even as a kid, I've had a problem communicating, and struggled a lot with communication. I struggled a lot with confidence, and I think it's something that I had to work on over the years. And relocating to the US made it a little bit worse. So I got to a point where I had to actually communicate. When I relocated from Kenya to the US, no one understands my accent. I have to speak in English. English is not my first language, so I think it made it even more difficult. But I think I've tried to grow. I've been doing a lot of reading. I think I've seen a lot of growth. Even having to pick a camera and speak to the camera, it takes a lot of confidence, and this is already progress. I hope that we'll get there. So one of my biggest culture shocks relocating to the US was proximity to wealth, or rather how wealth is normalized, or it is normal to have wealth. I'm speaking of nice houses, luxury cars, and lifestyle. So let me tell you guys a story. So when I relocated to the US, the first month, we used to drive around a lot because I was trying to arise with my environment. Plus also I was so curious to see like what is going on like in my new environment. And we bumped into this pilot neighborhood, and everybody had a plane. They also had a mini airstrip. Like kila mtu ako na ndege, iko packed. Each house iko na ndege, iko packed. They have these warehouses where they park their planes. Everyone is a pilot. They have a mini airstrip. And I asked 3 questions. What do they do for a living? How much do they earn? How do they maintain their wealth? And that was an instant mind shift. If I was back in Kenya in my environment, I could not be asking such questions, because I relocated from an environment where the middle class earned $500 to an environment where the middle class earned 10k US dollars to 20k US dollars, and that was an instant mind shift. I was like, oh, having wealth is normal. Like, people have wealth. Like, people are actually living this life that I used to watch in the movies. People have nice cars. There is rich, and then there's American rich. And I feel like Americans focus more on lifestyle more than anything else, because I think they have the purchasing power because of the credit system. I'm speaking of nice cars, luxury homes, boats, yachts, luxury apartments and stuff, and any other thing that you could imagine. I've never been in a Tesla until I relocated to the US. Mi sikuwahi on a Cybertruck until I relocated to the US. Nice cars like Rolls Royce, Lamborghini, Ferrari. I saw them here in America. Mi sikuwahi ona hizo magari until I relocated to the US. Mi sikuwahi imagine like kuna mtu mwenye amepark ndege kando ya nyumba, and when they are going for lunch, they are flying to go to lunch. Mtu ako na yacht. Do you know how much a yacht is? Na mtu ameipark hapo. Like I see them on a daily. Like mostly where I stay in Florida, people have yachts, boats, planes, and it's normal to have some of these things. And I was like, this is what I'm here for. I actually want this lifestyle. It is so inspiring, and I think that is one of the things I really appreciate about relocating to America. I see things beyond the life that I was used to back at home, and that is one of the things that I really appreciate about being in the US, because I see wealth on a daily basis. I see people living luxurious life on a daily basis, and if I can see it, it's achievable and I can have it. So another culture shock, the gun culture. This is actually scary, mostly for a Kenyan. In Kenya, if you see a gun, it's either with the police or the military, and you still get scared. But in the US, gun is so normalized. You can own a gun from as early as 18 years legally. Even high schoolers can access a gun. Like, gun is so normalized. So there's this time that we went to buy diamonds in a certain store here in Florida, and every salesperson has a gun on their waist. So like the first quality you have to get a job in certain areas in the US, you have to know how to shoot a gun. I feel like there's a lot of advantages that comes with having to own a gun. You can protect yourself, you can protect your business, and also there's a lot of disadvantages that comes with owning a gun, because I've never felt safe personally in the US since I located. Even in the evenings when I go for a walk, I have to be so cautious because I don't feel safe. Having the thought that anybody can own a gun is so scary to me, and I feel like the US is safe at the borders, but the inside is a fucking shithole. The tipping culture. Tipping in the US is not optional. It is part of the worker's income. I have a love and hate relationship with the American tipping culture. Mostly as someone who worked in the service industry when I was still back in Kenya, I feel like tipping should be a token of appreciation, but I feel like the US, it is more forced to the American citizens. I feel like if I go to a restaurant and I get served, I feel obligated to tip, which is okay. But when I come to your business, when you set your price, and I come to your business and I buy a product or your service and I pay you the actual price, I don't feel like I should tip in most situations. But I feel like Americans expect the tip. Let me say in most restaurants or businesses, the receipts come with the tip. They give you the options, the percentage you're supposed to tip. So you choose according to the percentage that they give you. I feel like it is more forced. I feel like tipping should be out of your will, but I feel like it is more forced on Americans. And I feel like if you're not careful in the US, most of your income, like 10% of your income, can be going to tips. Because when you go to a restaurant to eat, you tip. When you take a cab, you tip. You go to a salon to braid your hair, cut your hair, you tip. You go to a business and you buy an ice cream, they expect a tip. Like, you'd end up tipping, and most of your income, like 10% or even 20% of your income, will be going to tip. And I feel like that is the reason why some Americans are stuck in debt. Another culture shock, working multiple jobs is normal. This is one thing I expected moving to the US. I thought that Americans work multiple jobs because there's actually a lot of job opportunities, and one person can work as many jobs as he or she likes. I didn't know that Americans work multiple jobs because the one job cannot cover the cost of rent, and side hustles are actually for survival and not ambition. And the cost of living in the US is actually so disrespectful. You know, there's rent, there's mortgages, there's car insurance and health insurance, there's utility bills, there's groceries, there's emergencies that never stop coming, the bills never stop coming in the mail. Like, the cost of living in the US is actually so scary. I was also shocked that independence starts early. The kids move out of their parents' home at 16, 18. They work from 14, 15, 16. First few months when I used to go to stores or receptions, I could find 16 years, 14 years at the receptions. Some of them start working so early. They start paying rent at 16. Some of them start driving at 14, 15, 16. Independence starts so early. But back in Kenya, at 18, you still don't know whether you want to go to college. You don't know whether you want to drop out of school. You don't know whether you should get a job, which is not even there. There's no jobs for 18 years olds in Kenya unless your father is running a business. You don't know whether to disappear. You don't know whether to run mad. So there's a lot of confusion at 18 years in Kenya. But I think that I feel like here, most kids start independence so early. Most of them start working so early. Most of them can pay their bills by 16, 18. Most of them can move out of their parents' home at 18. Most of them can buy a car and pay their car notes at 18 years old, which I think is a good thing. But I feel like there's a lot of advantages that comes with early independency, but I feel like there's also a lot of disadvantage. I feel like most of the kids miss out on their childhood. Another culture shock was the working system. It is such an honor and privilege to finally exist in a country with a working system. What do you mean? Si kama Kenya like unaweza tu ambia mtu andudhi, unaenda mahali alafu unaambia mtu andudhi. Unaweza nifikisha tao na 10 minutes. You cannot do that in the US. You'll get arrested. Kama ni traffic, kila mtu hadi watu wa pikipiki wako kwa traffic. You follow the line. There's organization, there's a working system, there's rules to everything. Uwezi tu like fanya vitu venye si tunafanya Kenya, like vitu si chaotic venye si tunafanya Kenya. Also, you don't have to like bribe the police. There's rules around family, there's rules around healthcare, there's rules around transportation, there's rules around education, there's rules around almost everything. Even the tiny details that most African governments don't take care of. There's rules around everything here. And as somebody that relocated from Kenya, from a system that is so chaotic, I feel like there's a lot of advantages in being in an environment where the system actually works. Another culture shock was the food. I think food was like instant. I remember the first day we arrived in the US, we arrived around midnight. It was so late and most of the stores were closed. Plus we had to drive for like 1 hour from the airport and we were trying to find like restaurants that are still open. By past midnight, all the restaurants are closed and mostly the only place you can get food is the fast food. So I remember the first night we landed in the US, I had loaded fries and chicken. I don't know how the chicken were cooked, but I think there was a sauce added to the chicken. Oh my God, it was so pathetic. I was so traumatized. I could not eat that food. The loaded fries had a lot of salt and the sauce smelled so weird. Plus the oils that they use, it was so weird and strange. I could not relate. I could not eat. Actually, I was so traumatized that I did not eat for like 3 days. And also, funny enough, I didn't carry any food from Kenya. I just carried a little bit of spices. I didn't carry any food. So I had to figure out like what to eat after those 3 days. And the first 3 months was so tough. It was so traumatic because I could not relate to most of the food. I could not eat fast food. I tried McDonald's. I think the only thing I could eat was McDonald's fries and chicken. I think that is the only thing that I could eat, but it was so difficult. And until now, I still miss Kenyan food. I miss chapati, mayai pasua, smoky, mboga kienyeji, githeri, nyama choma. Oh my God. I can't wait for when I'll come back to Kenya and have some of this food. Like, I feel like I took Kenyan food for granted. Like, right now that I've lived in the US and I've tried several cuisines, I think that I really value Kenyan food and I can't wait to like lay my hands on Kenyan food again. America has a lot of food and there's a lot of sauces and there's a lot of variety of like food that some of them I can't relate until now, 1 year in, but I still cannot relate to some of this food. And there's a lot of fast food like every corner and they serve a lot of food at the restaurant. Like you cannot, me personally, I used to eat a lot in Kenya, but when I relocated to the US, I could not eat as much food as I used to eat in Kenya because it's a bunch of calories, a lot of salt, they put cheese in almost everything. So I feel like the cheese is so weird. So if you're someone that is relocating from Kenya, carry your spices, carry some of the food that you can eat for at least 3 months. Beba unga ya ugali, unga ya chapati si the same. Beba mafuta ya kupika. Mafuta ya kupika ya hapa is so weird. Iko na like a weird smell. Si kama yetu. So beba mafuta ya kupika. Beba unga ya ugali yenye inaweza kulast for like 2 months. Though unga ya ugali iko hapa. If you're looking for unga ya ugali iko hapa. But it tastes different. So you need to carry ile yetu ndo uadapt for like 3 months. Unga ya ugali and some spices if you can. But vitu kama rice hizo tu zina taste the same. Vitu kama maybe kuku kienyeji na masamaki. But carry at least some food yenye unaweza survive nayo for 3 months because American food is pathetic, and most Africans cannot like relate. I think they're used to their food just like we are used to our. Let me say 75% of Americans survive on fast food, which really explains why most Americans are overweight. So if you're coming from Kenya, carry your food that can last you for like 3 months. Also learn how to cook so that you can cook your food and remain healthy. And another thing that still surprises me is the small talk. I think most Americans don't like small talks, or I think that people are too busy to the extent that they're not used to having small talks. Like when you meet someone, they'll just give you a vague smile, like just to acknowledge that they've seen you. And if they go to an extent of asking you, hi, how are you doing? They don't expect to hear your problems. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares. They expect you to say good, and that is the end of the conversation. Not like in Kenya, like when you miss your neighbor or somebody that you know from somewhere, you have like a prolonged conversation. How are you? How are you doing? How is school? How is blah blah blah? Nobody gives a fuck. Like people don't indulge in small talks. Like when they meet you, they just give you the vague smile, or just say hi, how are you, or maybe wave. So it's so weird because Africans, we are used to having conversations with strangers, we are used to being friendly, we are used to having prolonged conversations when you meet your friends, when you meet your family, when you meet your relatives, when you meet your neighbors. So it's so weird for somebody that is coming from an environment that people are more friendly. So another sad culture shock was the homelessness. So I didn't know that I'll get to witness demography of like homeless working people. So I don't know if you can understand what I'm saying. Like in Kenya, if you see somebody that is homeless, it's either they are mentally challenged or there's something wrong with them. If they're not mentally challenged, they are drug addicts or something. But in the US, there's actually people that work 2 jobs, but they are still homeless. Like having a roof over your head in the US is such a privilege. Rent is so expensive. Most people that earn minimum wage cannot afford rent. So most people stay in their cars, some stay in the parking lot, some stay in the shelters, and there's a lot of homelessness. It's just a common thing. I didn't know that homelessness was such a common thing in first world country, and this is some of the things that the first world country will not show you, or the media in the first world country will never show the third world country. But homelessness in the US is such a thing. It is actually so sad that somebody can work 2 jobs but still not be able to pay rent and have a roof over their head. So it is something that I could not fathom when I relocated, but right now it's just a normal thing. I think there's also a lot of rules when it comes to getting accommodation. There's a lot of rules like around getting a lease or a mortgage. You have to be earning like 3 times the rent in order to even be able to get a lease. You have to have a certain credit score. You have to have they have to do a background check. So there's also a lot of rules when it comes to getting a lease or a mortgage. So that is why I think most Americans are homeless, but also the rent is so high, plus the cost of living is very expensive. So anyway, I've come to the end of my video. I feel like I've spoke so much today. So if you're surviving culture shocks abroad, welcome to the club, and tell me in the comment section below what shocks you the most living in the US, and let's try my bond respectfully. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate you guys, the 115 people that have subscribed on my channel. I really appreciate you. It means a lot. And I'm also sending a shout out to my sisters. They've been so supportive. They like, they comment, they repost my video. I really appreciate you guys. So thank you for watching, guys. Bye bye.